Houchin, and I'm from Fort Collins, and I'm a attorney that specializes in helping creative people do what they need to do. So a lot of entrepreneurial law, a lot of arts and entertainment, copyright, trademark, contracts, all that kind of fun stuff. I have an undergraduate degree from Iowa State University back in 1990 and spent a dozen years in the advertising industry before going back to law school at the University of Iowa, where they were silly enough to let me in. And then after law school at Iowa, I moved immediately to Fort Collins, Colorado, where I've been ever since, and hung my shingle and started networking as quickly and fastly as I could in the arts industries there, and have started to build a nice little practice out of it. The reason I went to law school is because I'd always wanted a terminal degree, a doctoral degree, and I didn't have a master's degree, and 2.5 years at the University of Iowa and their accelerated program is way better than 5 or 6 years in a PhD program after getting a master's someplace. So it seemed like a pretty good way to accomplish the goal of getting a terminal degree. Plus I'd been involved in a lot of business startups, product launches, branding, those kind of things. As a graphic designer, as an ad agency person, helping build those plans and those models, and I'd sat in on a lot of meetings with lawyers who had no clue about the creative process, let alone how to enable that rather than throw up hurdles. And so that all seemed to come together at the right time. The inspiration for coming to the IHL conference this year was that Jennifer found me, I think on a Google search for, I think she did something on law and creativity, and I have a blog about law and creativity where that comes up quite a bit. And so she informed me that there was such an organization, and then I took a look at the website and found the conference was coming up, and I had a new presentation that wasn't law technical. You know, most of my presentations are on copyright and trademark law and business development, and so I had some new content coming together for a presentation I wanted to do more on the creative spirit from a human spirituality, motivational point of view, and I thought that this would be a very, very welcoming, but educated from a constructive criticism place to test drive that presentation. And so we got to do that earlier today, and that was fun. Well, the presentation itself that I did today was titled Strange Fire, 5 Guiding Values. And without going into the entire presentation, it's just my way of framing up 5 things that are kind of my trade secrets of what I do when I'm doing well. And those 5 things are to accept things, to show up, to pay attention once I show up, and keep several irons in the fire at one time so that I don't get bored, and then give back through my time, talent, and treasure, which are what I call the 3 T's of stewardship. And so we went through those things in quite a bit of detail, and the response was good, so I'm confident taking it on to the next level. I would describe holistic law as something that is being used to foster the spirit of creativity, the foster of building good things, or protecting good things that have been built, rather than escalating conflict, rather than trying to tear down something that somebody else has done for a simple profit motive. I have a rule that says no pissy people. So if a client comes in with a business idea or some sort of idea, we talk about why they're wanting to do this business. We talk about what their motivation for protecting a copyright or a trademark is. Is it something that they've really invested in, or is it motivated through a paranoia? Are they only in it for profit? Are they only in it for the money, you know, for the business idea? Or is this something that's really going to feed their creative spirit? And if it's something that, you know, their eyes light up and they talk passionately about what they're trying to do rather than just about their financial plan, then the client and I usually hit it off. If it's something where they've got a financial spreadsheet that shows that they can make money at the end of the day if they jump through these hoops, then I usually refer them on to somebody else, because I'm about that passion and everything. And so my practice is about enabling that spirit of creativity. And usually it's me that brings up the, okay, now how is this going to be sustainable on a financial level? Have you thought about funding it this way or that way? You know, are the two of you that want to be partners, have you really talked through this issue, and this issue, so that I can help them build that and manifest their passion, rather than just be the scrivener for the legal issues that they've got to do because the Excel spreadsheet says a line for legal services. The highest calling of the law to me is to enable that spark of divinity that happens in every human. And as long as we're enabling or protecting that spark in other humans, we're doing what the law needs to do, whether we're legislative or advocates or counselors. That's, you know, each lawyer has their own skill set in doing those kind of things. Mine happens to be in more of the counseling side of things. But as long as we are understanding, recognizing, and fueling that spark of divinity, then we are reaching that higher calling. Whenever we're trying to stuff somebody else's or snuff somebody else's spark of divinity, we're falling short. Ben Franklin is one of my heroes. I do in my copyright and trademark sessions, specifically the copyright session, I tell people I don't have facts to back this up, but my vision is that we have a copyright clause and a patent clause in our Constitution because Ben was in the room, you know, and he understood that society advances through creative spirit, and that as a country we have to foster that creative spirit. And he was just the epitome of the kind of person that gave back to the community, received well for what he gave, but also knew that within him was a spark of divinity that made him curious, that made him find those things out, that made him, you know, get bored on ship and decide to chart the currents that we now know as the jet stream. Those kind of things. And I think if every human engaged in their life the way Ben engaged in his life, it'd be a fun place. One person who's made a real difference in how I approach things was actually one of my bosses when I was an account executive for a marketing firm. And he was the best boss I ever had, and now he's a fine artist and doing very well as a fine artist. But whenever we would get into an issue between sales and production, you know, because sales is always saying, do it now, do it fast, do it cheap, and I was sales, and production's always saying, give us more time, why did you sell it that cheap anyway, and you know, it's going to take longer. And whenever we got into some of those kind of discussions, which are inevitable in almost any business, Tom, my boss, would bring it to the forefront and frame every conversation in what's in the best interest of the client. And this was in a marketing firm, not in a law firm. He wasn't bound to that by any oath. He was just bound to it by an ethic. And that made a deep impression on me. What's in the best interest of the client? I get asked to give advice quite a bit to potential law students. And in addition to having my law practice, I still have a marketing consulting firm that specializes in law school admissions marketing. So it's kind of my professional job to give advice on people wanting to go to law school. I think law school's the best deal on the face of the planet in terms of the amount of time and money you have to put into something relative to the return that you get. I think law school, more than any other graduate or professional degree, opens the doors. It just opens the doors to so many different avenues, because now you can sit at the table and it's not something where you're just smart, but you're also licensed to do something about it on behalf of whoever you're with. You know, it just really brings the knowledge and the ability to act very close together.